My dog will be better behaved, I promise. Come on. Come on.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Eduardo Torres, coming to you live from the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm in my bedroom like a lot of y'all right now, getting locked down right now with the shelter in place. And just to let you know, Right to the City Alliance, a national alliance of over 80 housing, racial, economic, and environmental justice organizations, are joining forces with the whole cast of socially engaged artists via Artivist Entertainment to launch a 10-day online concert series. Welcome everyone to the Cancel Rent Festival. With the COVID-19 pandemic, millions of people are unemployed or will become unemployed and unable to make rent and mortgage payments, which is why under the Beyond Recovery for All campaign, we're calling on all politicians to cancel the rent, cancel mortgages, and homes for all, for renters, homeowners, small businesses, and people experiencing homelessness during the duration of this public health and economic upheaval. And lastly, we want to ensure a 3-month recovery period for everyone. If this speaks to you and you're not able to make rent for this month or your mortgage payment for this month of April or come May 1st, please fill out the survey in the description below or in the chat box and sign on to the list of demands. We are demanding no new debts with the immediate cancellation of rent, mortgage, and utility payments. We want homes for all now, which means a moratorium on evictions, foreclosures, and anti-homeless ordinances. People must be able to stay in their homes, and the unhoused must be housed, and people need to be released from cages now. Vital public good and utilities should be restored to all homes. Lastly, all people, regardless of status, must have access to sick time, worker protections, and basic income for all. Collectively, each of you can pressure politicians in your city and state to meet these demands with a unified action. The first step is signing on to the demands in the description below and in the chat box. The second step is sharing this Cancel the Rent Festival on all social media platforms with the hashtag Cancel Rent, hashtag Cancel Mortgages, and hashtag Homes for All. To stay updated, please subscribe to Right to the City Alliance on all social media platforms. Now, without further ado, from Artivist Entertainment, Aloe Blacc.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. I appreciate that. It is my pleasure to introduce tonight's performer for the Cancel Rent Festival, Dorian Wood. Dorian Wood seeks to glorify both the sanctity and irreverence of intimacy. Through the use of the opulent body and booming voice, Wood revels in challenging the artist-audience separation, using subject matter informed by their own position in society as a non-binary person of color and an autodidact. Their work has been showcased in concert halls and performances spaces around the world, including at such institutions as the Broad here in Los Angeles, Red Cat in Los Angeles, the Stone in New York, Mass Gallery in Austin, Kulturhuset in Stockholm, and Hebel am Ufer in Berlin. As a musician, they have released over a dozen recordings, among them 2 back-to-back albums, Rattle Rattle and Down, the Dirty Roof, showcasing a series of doomsday-themed songs that incorporate over 60 musicians. Their album, Chala, marks the first time that Wood has recorded a full-length work in their mother tongue of Spanish. Wood's recent Chavela Vargas tribute project titled Chavela Lux Aeterna debuted at the Festival de Arte Sacro in Madrid. Ladies and gentlemen, Dorian Wood.
Bendita esquina, hoja sufrida, rosa marchita. Y él me mira con ojos que no identifican con tal rapidez. Oh, the last glimpse of sun. The clouds. I try to call you every inch I get a signal. You left the house this morning with much unresolved. Is this the time you surely wished for? The blood-filled streets and the clattering. I lost my shit. Putting up the window. You cleaned yesterday. Bendita tu muñeca fría, brotando en mis labios un río amargo. Faltan terneras doradas que no tienen sombra y secan el lago. Es un altar muy severo que no capta el reino y no vale mierda. Solo preserva tu bien, tu pelo y tu piel, tu falsa sonrisa. Solo ha marcado la fecha en que tú te me expiras y quedo solita. Abrí la ventana limpia, Sofía, no ves que me muero de envidia. Abrir la ventana limpia, Sofía. ¿No ves que me muero de envidia? Abrir la ventana limpia, Sofía. ¿No ves que me muero? That was, those were two songs in one, each of them in a different colonizer language. But those are two that I composed. One is called O and the other one's called Círculos. I try to approach every song either that I compose or that I do by someone else as a form of folk music, because I feel anything that is deemed popular is of the people and for the people, and therefore it's folk music. Even something by Rihanna or Lady Gaga is folk music. And that's just how it somehow travels through my filter. But thank you so much for having me here in your living rooms tonight. I'm going to do one more before we shift gears for a little bit, and I'm just going to move papers around because it's a way to pass the time. If you haven't been moving papers around while you've been in quarantine, you haven't been doing quarantine, right? Okay. But it's a scary time. Yes, it's a very scary time, but I am also very inspired by just the work that everyone's doing in their own way to get through this, and we are getting through this. If we're surviving this now, it's because we're going to survive this, and we just got to do the best we can. I did not compose this one, but it is one that that hits the spot for me. When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side when times get rough, and friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled waters. I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled waters. I will lay me down. When you're down and out and on the street, when evening falls so hard, I'll comfort you. Yes, I will, 'cause I'm on your side. When darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled waters. I will lay down. Thank you. Oh, delicious water. So I hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, I guess moving right along. As Aloe mentioned, I just did a project called Chavela Lux Eterna, which paid tribute to Chavela Vargas. And it's been such a wonderful experience to share Chavela's legacy with the world, and talk about someone who represents two communities that so desperately need of our love and support, which is the migrant community and the queer community. And she was a paragon of both, and an example that, you know, even in whatever plane she's in right now, she inspires us to continue loving and fighting, and how both can coexist, especially if the fight comes from love. So this one is Chabelita. Que no somos iguales, dice la gente, que tu vida y mi vida se van a perder, que yo soy un canalla y que tú eres decente, que dos seres distintos no se pueden querer. Pero yo ya te he visto y no te olvido. Y si vienes conmigo es por amor. Yo no entiendo esas cosas de las clases sociales. Solo sé que me quieres como te quiero yo. Vámonos donde nadie nos juzgue, donde nadie nos diga que hacemos mal. Y vámonos alejados del mundo, donde no haya justicias, ni leyes, ni nada, no más nuestro amor. Vámonos donde nadie nos juzgue, donde nadie nos diga que hacemos mal. Y vámonos alejados del mundo, donde no haya justicias, ni leyes, ni nada, no más nuestro amor. So Thank you. It's so strange to be performing on Zoom because all I've done so far is just chat with friends and never actually perform music. So it's a whole other experience because it's all different. I'd like to think though that this is just, our way of surviving this is that, we found a way of staying together, even though we can't touch each other. And who needs touching anyway? I do. But we're making it work, and I think especially how things are going, where shit was already so tough before the world decided to shut down because of a virus. It was already so tough to pay bills, and here we are, just the universe saying, well, guess what? It's this is as tough as it's going to ever be, as far as the world shutting down. So I'm really happy to have been invited to participate in what I feel is an incredibly important statement that we need to make collectively to, cancel the rent, cancel the mortgage, until all this shit is over. And if it's scary enough that you're fearing for your life, but you shouldn't have to be fearing to pay rent and to be put on the street. And anyone who partakes in that is a sadist. And well, I think the world is much bigger and more beautiful and precious than that. So, by the way, I'm doing different arrangements of songs because we had some issues with the audio where because it's Zoom, it comes out differently. So I hope it's all being heard okay. And anyway, I'm very happy to be here with everyone. I'm going to do this one more song. It's composed by one of my all-time favorite singer-songwriters, Malvina Reynolds, who best known for doing Little Boxes. She did these incredible social awareness songs back in the 60s that are still so relevant today, and in a way that they shouldn't be, but she's an inspiration. And it can be a grim song to sing, but I find hope in singing things that are grim, like Chavela Vargas did in life. I feel that is something that is possible. The world's gone beautiful because it's about to die. I never saw such flower faces or so intent a sky. I never heard such lines from horns or violins, or saw such lavish girls, such dandy boys. And I know why. It's that the world is asking not to die. I never saw such hands flexing like silver leaves. I never knew such air or leaned to so good a breeze. Even the tears I cry, they aren't salt but clear, for seabirds riding the wind, calling their last, their wild goodbye. The world is asking not to die. want to hold this world and never let it go. I want the sun to always shine on the kids next door. Whether I go or stay, that question still abides. Goes by rainbows in the river spray. What answer do you give? A world that asks so bitterly to live.
Thank you so much, Dorian.
Thank you, Aloe.
It's been a pleasure listening to these past few songs that you were singing, some from all seeming like from all different projects, each one. And the one cover, one of my favorites, Bridge Over Troubled Water, is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, wow. So you spoke a little bit just before you sang that last song about the experience that you're going through right now, and that we're all experiencing right now with COVID-19 and this crisis, and rent being an issue that certainly for folks who we're all kind of worried about just surviving and not getting the disease, that we don't want to have to be worried about having to pay for rent. So we thank you for joining and sharing your voice to spread the word. But tell us, how does this affect you in terms of work? Did you have things lined up for the next few weeks and that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, everything that I've had scheduled for essentially the remainder of the year has all been canceled, and I just come back from tour, so waiting on the payment of that is also just there's nothing coming in. I feel like it's just it's really still something very difficult and big to wrap your head around, as far as just this worst case scenario that for many of us is really that, though. It's everything just shutting down, like, without exception, and and it just really hitting you, not only like with like I said before, like just your fear of health. My dog is very vocal, and I apologize for that, but he's also feeling the
Right?
he's feeling the strain.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just feel like it's these are times where we feel whatever we're feeling, like the struggle that we're feeling, and we also, I feel it's important to acknowledge, like, whatever privileges that we have as well, and to really be grateful for those. Like for me personally, like I ended up getting this this artist grant, like right before I came back from tour, and it's been like a little cushion, but it is also just like, what do we do, like, in these situations? Like we like we have in all other situations, like we take care of ourselves, but we are all part of a community, and I know that, like, I feel very fortunate to be a part of a community that is always checking in on each other, and like we are finding ways to make sure that we're all that we are all surviving, that we are all in a place that is getting us through the day, and now this is something completely unprecedented, but I think the format of community to push us through anything, to let us know that we're not alone, that in whatever ways we can. Like, if some of us have like, a little more that we can give, like, we give. And if, some of us needs like, need help, like, we should receive help as well. And it's, everyone I feel has a little bit to do of either one, like, and then of course, like, there are other people who just really, really need more of our help than usual. And I think that it's teaching us a great deal of compassion that we perhaps never thought that we were capable of, but we are demonstrating it every single day. That to me is like really, really inspiring, and it's just a source of strength to, to check in on people, to take care of people, to hold, human life as, how, as the most precious thing that we can, that we can take care of. And so I feel that it's, it's scary, on from a personal level, but it's also like just on so many levels that it, I think the one thing we can't do is shut down. So I'm happy to be here because, again, we're not in the same physical space, but I feel like everyone else who's listening and watching, we can all feel like we are in the same room right now. And that's, I feel that's very important.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your art and your art form. I want to ask you, I have a lot of questions I want to ask you, but I don't want to get too much into conversation and you don't get to perform all the songs you want to perform. But at an early age, you moved to a different country, right? And how did that, I believe Costa Rica, yeah?
Yeah.
How did that shape your artistry? Were you already recognizing you were an artist then? Did you have a voice? And how did that movement shape?
That was I've been playing piano since I was 5. My grandfather, Calasanz Alvarez, who was from Nicaragua, he was a classically trained pianist, and he had a certain fame in Costa Rica and Nicaragua, and he had been teaching me piano since I was a kid. So when we moved to Costa Rica, that was like another like very jolting experience to be taken from, what I feel is an incredibly privileged life in the United States for most people, to be taken to like a place like Costa Rica, where it was like a lot of.
Were you not in a major city?
We were like about a half hour from San Jose. We were up in the mountains, and there, we would spend weeks without electricity, without water.
You're talking about dirt roads, tin roofs.
Yeah, we would like, and we were still, even at that point, we were among like the more privileged people, as far as like, economically, and and yet still, like, we were dealing with, with using rainwater that we would collect in barrels, like, to cook and to bathe with. And
was there a piano there?
It was what?
Was there a piano there?
There was no, there was no piano there. I had a keyboard. But a lot of, I think what really, it was really a gift, as far as an experience, because it really helped me become more independent. And I feel that is what's really, pushed me in the direction of like, well, knowing that like making music is, comes so naturally to me, like, how, I'm given a platform of any, of any kind, like, how do I use that to its full potential? And, I always felt like, just being an experience where you like, you meet all, all types of people, and you learn so many like important lessons that it was baffling coming back to the States and seeing how, how we take things for granted here so much. And to be able to share my experience, like, without, telling people what to do ever, like, because this is like, we are all like on our own trajectory, but to be able to share my experience with music is, and finding, ways that, that stimulate me and engage people in conversation, to me, it's always been very exciting. And certainly now, and I feel like even like from the very beginning, folk music has been something that, has fascinated me as a way to communicate with people, because folk music, popular music, is something that like many people know. So when you have a conversation with someone and they already, you already have like, a common topic to engage about, like, to me, that's very inspiring. And, I end up learning so much, and like, so this is what I continue exploring, and what I consider to be folk music can really just be anything that you put a very personal spin on.
Beautiful. Were there were there folk songs? And I'm using the kind of the traditional sense of the word, and I know how you're using it as well. But in the folk songs from Costa Rica that inspired you, or that you remember, that enlightened you as a youth?
There were, as far as specifically songs from Costa Rica, there were popular songs that were like, just like national pop music.
Yeah, yeah.
That, because I've always been I've always been a lover of melody, and just give me like a 4-chord song and I'm in love. People think it's a very easy thing to compose something very simple, and it really isn't. It's to create a song that is timeless, and in the way it's reinterpreted, and the way that it carries through other generations. That is what's inspiring of popular music, is that it can belong to you. You can make it whatever you want it to be for yourself, and it doesn't lose what it once was. It's something different now. And this is like, I feel like also our duty as people, as human beings on this earth, to grow and to improve and to create something better for our kids and for ourselves. And this means questioning tradition, questioning like certain lyrics and songs that are problematic now, that back then they weren't, but they are now, because we're realizing that this world is far more vast and exactly
Complicated.
Yeah, exactly. Complicated, right? Exactly. So I'm all about that. I'm all about, like, changing lyrics up, and like, if something is is racist or is misogynist, then yeah, of course, like, I'm gonna sing it my own way. I'm gonna change it up, and I'm like, this is how I sing it. I'm not saying this is how it's supposed to be for everyone, but I'm gonna do it this way.
Yeah.
And this is what is inspiring to me. Like, when anybody takes any song and they're like, what, I'm gonna adapt it to my own story. And as I say it, like, like telling my own story through the songs of other people is just as inspiring as my own composition. So it's all like platforms for conversation, which I'm a big fan of.
This question just came in from Marta Gonzalez, and you recently met Almodovar.
Yeah.
Does this mean you will be on the next project?
I don't know. He was he came. I did a show in Madrid right before I came back to the States, and he came backstage and we talked for 20 minutes. Very, very nice guy. We talked about Chavela a great deal, and he's very charming. Really, just very sweet guy. I don't know.
Okay, so
I know what I would love at the core of my being, like, but I'm just grateful, really, that I'm grateful, honestly. Like, this sounds really cheesy. I'm grateful for anyone who looks in my direction and wants to engage in a conversation about music. That's what gets me out of bed. And just, it was nice that he showed up, but like, there were just really, like, other people I got to meet that night that were inspiring. There were actually people from the fascist party of Spain that showed up after the show, and at the end of the show, I called them out, like, by name, like, and I totally went on this rant, this anti-fascist rant, and I called out these political parties by name, and they came afterwards, backstage, and they hugged me and they said they loved the show, and I'm like, this to me is what's really is so twisted about these times, is that disconnect where you can tell, like, someone who has fascist values, like, to their face, that call them out on it, and they will just somehow find a way of separating themselves from what you're telling them. And this is the great danger of where we are now, like, all over the world. And I saw it firsthand, and I wanted to tell them, like, I just went off in your faces in front of hundreds of people and told you you are all a bunch of fascist pigs, and you're here congratulating me and introducing me to the ambassador of Canada. And I'm like, to me, it was like so bizarre. It was like, it's so incredibly bizarre. But
they're probably looking for a way out, and you're you know, you're cracking the egg open, you're softening them somehow. I can only imagine, you know, artists have that capacity, and you're out there. I'm glad that you took that stand. They needed to.
Yeah, I feel like we need to. I mean, I never want to, tell any artist like what they need to do, but I feel like, something worthwhile to do if you're given a platform, a public platform of any kind, and you see the world falling apart, and it's how it's been falling apart for so long. Like, somebody's putting a microphone in your face, like, and if people are going to listen to what you're saying, like, and if that's going to make some sort of impact or something, like anything, I'm going to seize that moment. So, like, if these people are trying to find a way out, they're going to find, like, big, beautiful brown ass in the way that is just not going to let them out so easily. And it's a big, beautiful ass.
Protect the weak, stand up for the vulnerable, condemn the oppressors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for your voice. Will you share with us some more songs?
Sure, I can share a couple more if that's okay.
That's wonderful. Yes.
Thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm really, really, again, very honored to get invited to sing and present my music under this forum, and I encourage everyone to please check out the website. I believe it's Cancel Rent, but there should be a link in whatever you're watching. So please check it out, sign up, and find ways in which we can unite our voices to bring some relief and just some desperately needed help for so many of the people in our community who again are already dealing with the fear of of their life being taken away. And this can't be a fear that in this country that purports to be the richest in the world, this cannot be a fear that people need to live with here, or anywhere. It's time to just call things for what they are and put fascism in its grave once and for all. And capitalist is a fun way of saying fascism. So anyway, all right, that's enough. She talks too much. I'm sorry. There's this wonderful singer, songwriter that we lost to cancer several years ago. Her name is Lasa de Sela, and one of my greatest inspirations. And I got to meet her once, and just a wonderful human being, really just beautiful soul and incredible talent. And I'm honored to do one of her songs tonight. Gracias a tu cuerpo doy por haberme esperado. Tuve que perderme para llegar a estar a tu lado. Laray, laray, tuve que perderme para Gracias a tus brazos doy por haberme alcanzado. Tuve que alejarme para llegar a estar a tu lado. Laray, 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 tuve que alejarme para llegar a estar a tu lado. Gracias a tus manos doy por haberme aguantado. Tuve que quemarme para llegar a estar a tu lado. Laray, laray, tuve que quemarme para llegar a estar tu lado. Who knew that we would ever take touching for granted? Here we are. So many people I want to embrace and kiss and get sweaty with in a fraternal way, of course. So I leave you all with one song more. I English speak. This is a song that I composed. And some people, if you've been following the stuff that I do, you may recognize it. But it's a song of empowerment that I wrote with women in mind, and always on board to empower women's voices and this one is just for everyone tonight. To always just acknowledge who we are, where we're coming from, and in our darkest moments, our greatest hopes can be being a light for someone else. And that's, I think, a very wonderful thing to strive for. So there's people out there who are lights for me every day and get me out of bed. And that means that we get to be a light in someone else's life. and through love and respect and consent, then we're on our way to a very important place that we all deserve. Ay, amor, estas niñas andan buscando sangre. Ay, amor, desnuditas se escapan al aire y desgraciadas y mal habladas van corriendo como fieras a la cara infinita y desvanecen, desaparecen. Y tras el velo transparente se les llena el subconsciente de la sal. Ay, amor, esas niñas solo piden venganza. Ay, amor, de la nada jurando venganza y no les vale putex, no les vale nada. Como salen los sonidos pervertidos de la cara infinita, a qué volumen y a qué velocidad. Van de pecho fuerte alargándose los dientes y cubiertas de la sal. Santas aquí hay muchas, todas abiertas al cielo, aunque les llueva la cuita, aunque les huya la mar. Bang, bidi, bang, bidi, bang. Bang, bidi, bang, bidi, bang. Bidi, bang. Bidi, bang. Bidi, bang.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aloe.
It's been a wonderful pleasure to hear you singing and performing and playing these songs, albeit modified for the audio and technical circumstances but thank you nonetheless. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ella. It's been a pleasure to be here, and thank you to everyone for watching.
Beyond Recovery, Homes for All demands ensures healthy, stable, thriving communities and a future for us all, with an easeful future free of debt, which includes canceled rent, mortgage, and utility payments, and a guarantee of safe, healthy homes for all people now. If you're not going to be able to pay rent on May 1st, fill out the survey to get connected with a national solution and sign up on the demands. In the meantime, keep dancing the hardships away with us, and we will continue to fight you, all of those of you who are having to pay rent, having to pay mortgage, and you can join us in that fight. So once again, I'm Aloe Blacc from Artivist Entertainment in conjunction with Right to the City. We are calling for a cancellation of rent, mortgage, utility payments, and we're just looking for real sustainable relief for this crisis that we're all in. Thank you for your time and your attention.